What's up? If you're back, you already know who I am. It's I, FannyPackDave, and you came back for one reason and one reason only. Because you love me. Or you love Dave. But either way, I'm Dave as well. So there's, we're not gonna pick which Dave you love, right? We're just gonna say you love a Dave. And it's totally cool. All right. But we're going to find out what blows Dave Reid's mind, what goes, yeah, that's happening. We're going to find that out right now, right when I click. Actually, we're not. We're going to give you a little bit of recap. Just a real quick. Like literally no more than a 30-second. We just kind of brought it back a little bit. We just moved the frame on, moved it on over just a little bit. Totally cool. But whatever, you're here. Thanks. Or unless you just landed here and you were like, hey, let me check out this video. What's it say about God? Yeah. Totally cool. I'll take that too. But if you like that, if you like the dude, if you like God, if you like Jesus, you know what? Toss a hey, toss an amen, toss a hallelujah, peace be with you. Toss whatever you want to toss, truly, because that's the power of the world. Just project it out into the universe and somebody's going to pick it up. An unspoken thought. It's pretty hard to remember, but a shared thought could be remembered and shared. All right. All right. Let's go find out what blows Dave's mind and let's talk. Let's talk life. See you guys.
Yeah. Do you know that guy? Jesus?
Yeah. Well, he's my Lord, so
really?
I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah. I'm trying to get to know him. I think it would be really fun to hang out with the guy.
I think you'll definitely put a smile on his face.
Yeah, it's funny. I've learned he has a really intense sense of humor. Like I've come to put myself in some really interesting situations with people, and I've learned a lot about him over the past few weeks and a few months. And it's really funny to kind of get to hear different stuff about him, and then
right.
and then I've been reading the King James, the New Testament, which is a very hard read. Man, those words are intense.
We need to get like the NLT.
Yeah.
Because there's you're crossing back and forth in like Old English versus modern English.
Yeah, it's tough.
So it's different. Like thou'st.
Yeah.
Shall or
verily
I tell you or
it's weird.
Every time he says that, like where Jesus is speaking.
Yeah. So I haven't even got to where he speaks yet.
Well, no, but the cool thing is like in there is like when he if he really wants to impress a point on you, it's like verily I tell you, or he always puts like emphasis on that part by saying that like you can trust this. This is the truth. And you really need to listen to this point.
Yeah.
The thing that blows my mind, to be honest, I'm glad that you're kind of on a journey of discovery, is that this place exists out of the idea that anything can exist out of nothing. I'm like, well, what happened before this?
Yeah.
The Big Bang Theory. Well, what happened before that? What caused the Big Bang Theory, and what caused the Big Bang? There's so much like weird stuff that attaches to it. But if you think about it, if there's an explosion, then isn't the universe expanding? And that's the concept that we hear. The universe continues to expand. But how did it coalesce on Earth into a highly ordered system? Like that's my question. So I've had arguments with people that are atheists, and they'll be like, listen, you guys like act like science and God can't coexist. I go, they can. He created a world that we have free will. People are always, do you think you're ordained to die? I go, no. I think there's people that have rushed their way along that path,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's sat here with like an expiring timer. I just think unfortunate things happen.
Yeah.
But that's the experiment of life. And so if you believe in a creator, or in my case, like God and his son Jesus, then I have all the explanation I need. You know, people will be like, well, doesn't that defy a concept of that's like that? You're reading way too much. I
Yeah.
mean, like, you either have faith or you don't. That's it. Period.
Yeah.
No discussion.
Well, it's weird because you can't even have faith in people. Like that's what I'm learning. You can't put your faith in a person because we're all sinners. Like you could look at somebody and say, man, that person follows the Bible so much. They follow it so much, but yet they're like, you watch how they live. And then it makes you almost question some things. Like, and I think a lot of people do that. They'll question, hey, how could this person have so much faith and be that kind of person? And that's when you realize it's not the faith that makes it's not the person that makes the faith. It's the faith that finds you. Like, and you can't. We're all sinners, so you can't look at that person and say, oh, they're not living properly. Like we're sinners made in His image, apparently. Like and that's what took me like a minute here to try to figure out.
Well, I think that, I mean, if you know, some people they like to use analytic thinking to try to describe something that's probably metaphysical in nature. You know, it's not something you can ever see. I think that you'll experience it if you're open to it, but I think, like, I try to explain to my daughter, I go, you know, the belief is, you know, that conviction is what opens your heart, kind of the Holy Spirit inhabits you and it changes you, or it should change you. You know, it's like when I look at people and they baptize babies, it's like, what's the point? The baby's not making a conscious decision. You're making a conscious decision for the baby. And in reality, the idea of being baptism is like almost metaphorical that we're going to wash away our sins and become anew.
Yeah.
Be born again.
Yeah.
As a new being.
Yeah.
But people are like, so what's the point of the dunking the baby in the tank?
Yeah.
Making him cry on a Sunday?
Yeah.
He's not happy. The baby's not happy.
No, it is weird to think about because like babies, like they get in like no matter what, right? Like a baby is baby. It's interesting to think like, and it almost goes into like I look at babies and schizophrenic people. Like a schizophrenic person is just a person that has a higher form of imagination. Like it's funny because kids have different hormonal processes than us. Like their hormones release differently as you age. But what if your mindset? What if you kept that childlike mindset? So your hormones are gonna almost secrete differently. So with like people that have like schizophrenia and stuff, I think a lot of it could be like almost the hormonal defects of like having a higher form of imagination, more childlike. So their stuff might not be secreting so much, and it's interesting because then you take that into a kid, and it's like a kid, they have an imagination, they have a belief. You know, they don't need a whole lot to believe in something. So where we lose that as adults, and we're like, I'm not going to believe in that. I'm not going to believe in this thing, and it's interesting, and that's where the testament and all that stuff comes into play, I think, and it's so crazy and interesting.
Well, you know what's weird is like if you know, the further you go into it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But like in the, you know, when the apostles when Jesus was being crucified, and they captured him in the Garden of Gethsemane, they took, you know, and he told Peter that you'll deny me 3 times before the cock crows. And Peter said, I'll never, you know, deny you. And sure enough, 3 times he denied him, you know. I mean, so, you know, that must be a really heavy thing to think about Jesus. Like, he's born to die, and it's at an anointed time, and it's like, and then he has to die this most painful, crappy death, and betrayed by his own people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like Hollywood couldn't write that story.
No.
And you're like, you know, when I watched Passion of Christ, it left me like gutted. Like that whole theater was like dead silent. If anything, you heard a little bit of weeping. But it was like, I look at what you know, I guess that movie depiction wasn't nearly as brutal as the Romans were on them when they beat them, because they did this stuff called scourging. So they had this like steel, and they catch it in your flesh, and then they pull it back. It's like a whip, and it catches in like fish hooks, and they rip it out chunks of flesh. So they showed it in the movie, and he was beaten. They said, and I believe biblically, they were, you know, that it was like beaten beyond recognition of man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you know, this is the son of, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so he's like, so they crammed that crown of thorns in his head and drove it into his scalp and stuff. It's like, we're some barbaric people, man. You know, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I mean, if that doesn't make on Good Friday, I kept thinking, man, wow.
Yeah.
This is it. But, you know, I'm not like Catholic. I don't believe in. I think all religion, Catholic, Calvinism, you know, anything on the Christian sect is really just man-made machinations of God's word. Right?
Yeah.
So you're supposed to that's one thing that always bothers me about organized religion is all the dogma that gets attached to it. It's about the process, not about the salvation in the brain, you know, like what it does in your life, you know what I mean? It's all about the process of like doing the right steps.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Just like the whole thing, and then there's like, you know, genuflecting and stuff, and I'm like, I mean, that's great, but you're there that one day for an hour. What are you doing?
The rest of the time. Yeah.
The rest of the time, I mean, are you being Christian? I mean, Christian. You should try to treat other people well. I mean, if there's anything you get out of the Bible, it's just the golden rule. Do unto others as you have done unto you. It doesn't seem we live that way, though. No. It's like that. It's like a dark place sometimes. Dude.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy because you go into like, you said 9%, Dan. I can change that guy. When you said the book, you're reading the book and it was like about time and it being linear and all this stuff. And the rolling, that's the craziest thing for me. And I told you in text, I said that planning is not my strong suit because I don't have a good recollection of time. Like I don't understand time. I don't understand how some people could do so much stuff in a day and others like so little, because it's like time just gets so far away from you. Like I don't believe in time. I don't believe like in age and stuff like that anymore. Like I believe you are who you are. Or no matter how old you are, how young you are, like you are who you are. Everybody experiences life differently, and some people unfortunately experience life at an earlier age, and that's where it gets crazy. But then when you put into like going to church and just taking this hour out of your time and like it and just watching this stuff, and like I have a buddy, he gets up every day, he goes to the gym 2 times a day, he goes mountain biking with his dog, he talks to God. Or Jesus, whoever, and I look at and he works 3 jobs right now, and I watch all the stuff that he could physically do with time, and I'm just sitting here, I'm like, it's the backing, it's the backing of Christ that gives him that. Like it has to be. Like there's no other way to figure out how to utilize your time that properly other than giving it to somebody else. And he does. He gives it to somebody else, and it's so crazy to see that. And I'm just like, and I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out for the life of me. I'm like, how? I don't know. I don't understand time.
Well, it's. I mean, there's so many. It's a really interesting thing because hard to wrap your brain around. You know, the concept of it. You know. I guess I look at like everything. So knowing chemistry and knowing the things I know like about molecular structures, you're like, all we are is like this, you know, pile of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, you know, nitrogen. You know, you got like these 5 elements that make up like basically the entire human body and variations thereof, and you're just like, that's really wild that all these trillions of cells are working in unison to keep me alive. And that's where I don't understand how people can't, like, it's so unbelievably amazing that all these things work together.
Yeah.
Well, you can find a mitochondria, and like, they were rubbing bacteria, and I'm like, well, if we kind of look at things and you see certain strains of DNA that's in corn, that's in human beings, which is in the plants and the grasses, you can probably find sequences that are similar, but I go, it's kind of like Legos. You have blue Legos, yellow Legos, red Legos, orange Legos, green Legos. You're building stuff with them, but there's still Legos. It's like, it's
Yeah,
just
they come
different
apart.
forms of the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're building all this stuff, and I'm like, so he took his Legos and built people, he built fish, he built this, he built, he created all these things into the world, and then everybody's like, well, and then he flooded it and killed everybody. And then, who would do that? And I'm like, I don't know, sometimes I think the U.S. needs like a good flush, and like somebody grab out of the, I feel like we're like a lump of crap in the commode, and somebody needs to pull the chain.
Yeah.
Because this society is like so depraved.
Oh,
It's insane.
It's intense.
Well, this is just like wild. Like people are just hateful right now. I'm like, it's a whole generation of people. I think, like Mike Tyson said it best. Like social media has made people way too comfortable with saying whatever they want without getting punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
Well, you saw what he did the other day.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I think Mike Tyson's my hero right now because like I think he's doing what like every one of us want. Want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. He just unfortunately his hands are a little bit more powerful than
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be on the
no
receiving end of that guy.
No, I wouldn't. The kid. Yeah, I wonder how that's gonna play out.
I don't think he's gonna get any trouble.
No?
They'll try and sue him, but
Yeah.
they didn't even press charges against him.
Oh, for real?
Mm.
Oh, that's badass. Yeah, that's badass. So I'm excited that I'm relinking with Dave, and Dave's gonna get me wearing a Speedo.
Oh yes, yeah. You're gonna be.
Oh yeah. Let me just switch it real quick. And then I know
Switch.
Oh, we're back. We just had Dave. Okay, well, there was a little cut, but Dave was explaining to us kind of the constructs of time and what it is to be a human and the molecular build up of a human and brief
Geeky stuff.
Yeah, fun stuff actually though. That's like the real stuff. I mean, that's what we are, and it's crazy, and we're just all that stuff that's secreting hormones and chemicals throughout our body at any given point, which is so crazy. Like that's what that's what makes it so exciting, because we can literally do anything but fly. Like and I yeah, I know, that's why I say you truly don't know until you do try. Odds are you cannot fly. Yeah. But like it's funny because I know you talked about how like cocky and arrogant you were like at times. So I had a job that I used to change batteries on cell phone towers. And it was like, it sounds crazy. Like you're like, oh, no, it wasn't like, so the cell phone towers, we changed. No, that would be sweet though. I always watch those videos and I'm like, how do they get down? Because if you've ever watched a person climb a cell phone tower, they never show you how they get down. Like no clue how they get down. Like they just climb it and they'll climb up 1,400 feet in there. How do they get down?
Yeah, it's
like, yeah, it's crazy. But no, it would be like towers on, so it would be the battery backups. So I'd have to change, like there would be like 24, 50 these batteries. They each weighed like 70 pounds, and we'd have to take them out, but they'd be on like the top of the tallest building in like Port Huron. It would be like whatever the tallest building is in the downtown, they'll put the cell phone tower. So we'd go up there, and if you've ever been like on the top of like a big building, there's nothing to it. Like there's some pipes and stuff up there. There's like big units and things up there, but like if you go around, it's just like lightning rods and stuff that travel around and sequence around the building, and they're just like these metal bolt, like a little clip. And I used to get up there and I get really bad vertigo because I would want to run and jump off the building, and I'd want to run and grab the side of like the thing, and I'm like, oh, it would eventually, this clip would break, and I'd be hanging off the side. And I think to myself, I wonder if I could hang on long enough for the fire department to get there. I'm like, I know with a building this size, they have to have an aerial ladder to get up to here. And I'm like, I wonder if I could hold on. And then I would think this, and I would my stomach would start like twirling, and my mind wanted me to do this, and I'm like, dude, no, Dave, you can't do this. And I remember I went in the Warren City Hall. It was the Civic Center, and I was up on the third floor. It was like the assessing, and you look over, there's a little boundary, and there's like these balls that are hanging on ropes, And I used to just want to run and jump and land on the ball and just sit there. And I started getting really bad vertigo. And I thought to myself I could do these things. And I had to quit the job because I'm like, Dave, you were eventually going to kill yourself. Not because you wanted to die, just because you wanted to live. Like literally, I quit the job because of that. Because I couldn't, I didn't want to die. You know, it was never like, hey, you would die. It's like, but would you? And that's why the human mind is so crazy. And that's why I think so many different things exist, because it's an instant thought of mind. It's like an instant thought, and just like, it's crazy. Like we're complex creatures.
Well, I think what people, you know, I've read a lot of stuff, and I'm not as deep into psychology, but I read a lot of things that have a lot to do with psychology, because like, you know, development of like, you know, acumen and confidence and all those things are kind of related to, you know, that part, you know, psychology of like winning or understanding or different things. Like there's a lot that goes into it. And so I think, you know, with people, it's like, you know, you just get like dark thinkers and you know, optimists, pessimists, I guess is an easy way to say it, but like dark energy and dark thought. I was listening to this guy talk about it, and he like does performance coaching for like NFL players, quarterbacks and stuff. And he was saying like dark thoughts are 10 times more powerful. They measured this somehow. Don't ask me how, but they said it 10 times more powerful than positive thoughts, and that's why when somebody tells you, you know, you're going through a really crappy time, and somebody goes, "Oh, just keep positive." Like the guy said, he goes, "Well, it's not always possible to be positive, but you can not be preoccupied with the negative. You know, you kind of like you don't have to be positive and be up on top of the world. Everybody knows you're hurting, like you lost a loved one, but you don't want to focus on the negative, or it envelops you. You know what I mean? And so, to me, like the power of thought is so absolutely vital and important that you control it, because whatever you start to focus on and think about, it's gonna, you know, it's like you get feelings about something. Feelings affect your thoughts. Your thoughts affect your actions.
Yeah.
You know, your actions affect the outcome of any situation. It's like, so if you positive or negative. So the guy used the Bill Buckner, the famous '86 World Series, the Boston Red Sox had ended the curse of Babe Ruth, and somebody said to Buckner, "Man, you could hit the game-winning home run in this. You know, this is such an important thing." And Bill Buckner goes, "Or I could let the ground ball go through my legs and we lose the game." And Bill Buckner is known for the ball going through his legs. Hall of Fame career, and all everybody talks about is him booting a ball in the '86, I think, World Series. It may have been the championships. But anyway, I just thought that was fascinating. And the guy's like, I'm not saying that's what caused it, but you don't ever want to breathe life into the negative outcome.
Yeah, well, that's what it gets crazy, because then it's like thinking with your brain or your heart, because then it's like if you're thinking that way, it's your brain. I would say your brain is here to play tricks on you through your entire life, but you have one true thing. You have your heart and your soul, and we're just here to give our soul an experience. And so by doing so, you have to allow your heart to, like, you have to have a cohesive thing between your heart and your brain, and even your stomach, like the stuff you put into your body. And it's funny because like that kind of goes into like your guy, like Joe, like you have everything, you know, you have everything to lose sometimes. You know, you lose it all, and then you have to overcome what you lost to just be part of this earth, like to exist upon it. Like as weird as it is, because I mean, you lose something, it's easy to continue loss. Like it's easy to continue down that and go, hey, I'm gone. Like, and that's it wasn't the best transition into the grind, but it's kind of like interesting on your aspect of like what you're doing nowadays.
Yeah, I think, you know what, you know, kind of touching on Joe, and this is a friend of mine who,
interesting world here.
Yeah, really kind of interesting, because like I always joke around, if you want to find an ism or an osis, go to the gym. Somebody's got like, you know, masochism, where they got like some form of psychosis, and it's like I go, they're all in the gym. Like you got every walk of people, and they're with varying degrees of dysfunction. People always say I don't have issues, and like my buddy Bill always says, I got tissues. That's tons of issues. Like, so if you're being honest with yourself, we all have something, but most people are in the gym to improve themselves or for whatever reason, but it's usually, it could be narcissism for some people. It could be, like overcoming an inferiority complex or different weirds. I think there's more people that are in the gym on a regular routine basis because of a psychological drive and need than it is about physical. I think it's like release or
but it's there. Like it's almost like they can't go without it, and which is probably not. Not the worst thing to have.
I think you can become like too far over the top with it. Like I think when it starts to affect other areas of your life and you stop being normal.
Yeah.
So it's weird though, but you see psychology in people, and it kind of drove me to my next project, which was like. I just hear people lamenting all the time about their victimhood. They're like victims. Like everybody.
Oh yeah, it's worse than the other.
Well, I think like back in the day, like our country was like we lauded heroes.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, like guys like Neil Armstrong, MacArthur, Patton, all these people that are really historic people are remembered for being heroic people. Custer with the Indians, like Daniel Boone and those guys at the Alamo. You had all these people that are outstanding. George Washington and his courage to go against the Brits. Pocahontas, yeah, all these people, yeah. So when you think about it, you have all these different people that have done heroic things and they're valued for being heroes. And now, I'm not getting into like a color thing, but we'll just use George Floyd as an example. George Floyd was a criminal who became a victim, and he's lauded for being a victim, and I just think it's backwards. Like I'm not saying that George Floyd deserved to die. He certainly didn't. I thought it was a terrible situation all the way around, but at the same token, I'm like, you kind of get yourself into situations because of the things, the life you lead, and so it leads you to that point. Where you're having encounters with the police, and unfortunately he died. But it's like then everybody's like, all summer we're oppressed for victims. It's just like such a bad mentality. So I'm like, I got to find a way to break this like negative. And I created this idea that what I call the grind mindset, which is you're always going to encounter obstacles no matter what it is. You got to overcome things. So you either go up, around, over, or through whatever comes in your way to get to where you got to go. So, if you don't have the goals and plans and dreams, I feel sorry for you. If you just don't, because that means you exist in nothingness. You don't have a direction. I don't think you got to have like material things, but just goals and dreams, something to drive yourself toward. And so the grind mindset was kind of born out of that, like a place to find hope. And I was like, so I did these shirts and I did these grind 40-day challenges, and people joined them, and it was pretty cool and a lot of momentum. People in Australia, Hawaii, here, there, all over the country, and they kind of bolstered each other, and it was cool. And a lot of people thanked me, and I'm like, what are you thanking me for? I just like I'm bringing together what in my eyes, my creator wants me to do, which is to help people. So I was like, okay, well, this is cool. So then, through bodybuilding, my friend Joe Crescente, he to me exemplifies what a hero really is. Joe was serving in the DEA and went over on what they call the FAST team in Afghanistan, and that's like DEA agents in like the Middle East are high value targets because they wreck the poppy. So the poppy and the heroin is what drives the Taliban's funding. So they don't really like the DEA guys. They want to get rid of them. So they sent these guys over there, and Joe was doing a mission, and they were in a bazaar, and they were taking inventories of stuff, and they came under gunfire. Well, Joe got struck in the head with a round from a PKM submachine gun that went through his Kevlar, went through his temple and out the other side. rendering him blind. I mean, he literally hit the ground. Everybody thought he was dead, tossed on a chopper. Long story short, Joe lives, and Joe's blind. But Joe's skydived, Joe's hunted bear, Joe's killed 2 deer with the same bullet, which I thought was fascinating. That'll be a story I feel you'll hear at some point. And then he continued back to bodybuilding and became a pro bodybuilder. I mean, like, what's not inspirational? I think that's the ultimate of not being a victim. And pretty harrowing story. Like, you got to hear it. I'm gonna interview him, like, on our first podcast, The Grind.
The Grind, yeah.
To kind of like, he was on Jocko Willink's podcast about a month ago. Jocko Willink has like 3.5 million.
That's awesome.
Followers. Like, he's written tons. I have his book up on there. It's
Joe's or Jocko's?
Jocko's is up on that shelf. But
does Joe have a book?
I don't think Rogan has a book. He's too busy doing comedy.
Oh no, you're Joe.
No, Joe Casante?
Yeah.
No, we were talking about it because some guy wrote a book. He had a ghostwriter write the book.
Yeah.
And the guy just never did anything with it.
Oh, like about the
right.
About
so
because I've seen the pictures of Joe before, or during. I guess it would be during, and then now, and man, like he went through. Like, I mean, that was a crazy struggle for him, and just to have somebody to rely on somebody to be able to take him through. Like, he had to, I'm looking forward to hearing that podcast. I mean, he had to have some dark days, and like you talked about dream, and what somebody has to have. You have to have a dream, or you're just going through life spaceless, and like, it's crazy like to have a dream and figure out what your dream is, and like to be Joe and to be able to still have that dream after all this. Mm-hmm. Like, that's crazy. It's amazing.
Well, to me, it's like a testament to, like, and he said it, and you'll hear it on the podcast. He's like, clearly God had more plans for me.
It's funny you
to
say
do
that.
more in life.
I told my buddy this on the way over here. I told him about that, and he goes, "Wow," he goes, "sounds like God had other plans for him." And then he said that, and my buddy's not a religious guy when he said that, so that's funny to say that.
But it's like, I don't think there's ever any coincidences. I think, like, sometimes things happen a lot more in common, like in parallel, and I think sometimes people miss it because they're not really focused on it, right? But like, sometimes when you focus on something, you start to hear it more often.
Yeah.
Like, there'll be a weird noise somewhere, and what noise? And then you're like,
oh yeah.
Oh, now you hear it. Now you can't stop hearing it.
Oh yeah.
I think it's called like reticular activating system, but it's
yeah. I hear music everywhere I go. It drives me crazy. I just hear music. I hear melodies, and like I can't listen to white noise because I hear electric guitars, drums. I hear a little, like, a leather thing slapping on a drum, and I can't stand it. I'll be at the bowling alley, and the ball return sounds like a freaking. I'm like, what is playing? It's crazy. I can't handle it. It's a lot. I hear electricity.
You know what's weird is, like, some people are really super sensitive, like EMF.
Yeah.
And I think, like, there's people literally I've heard about, like, they get headaches if they can't live near cell phone towers. And then, like, they can hear the noise of, like, electrical outlets.
Yeah, I hear that. It drives me ape shit.
Yeah.
I'm on my 6th computer. I keep blowing up computers. My buddies call me EMP Dave. And my newest thing lately is I keep seeing blue. I keep seeing, like, blue blurs everywhere I look. And that drives me freaking ape shit. And it's I had to look it up. And it was pretty interesting what it said. And then I talked to my buddy, and he told me there's some weird frequency going on right now that people who reach really weird spiritual levels are seeing. And it was really funny. Then he tells me this, and I'm like, what the hell? Because I keep seeing blue, and I thought I was having a stroke. Like, I'm telling you, I freaked out. I'm like, what is going on? Yeah, it's weird.
It's interesting though. I mean, it's like, I just think, like, and I'll use, like, for me, like, an example would be like a guy like Nikola Tesla. I think, like, I've always said to people, like, a concept of love and hate, right? Love and hate isn't, a lot of people conventionally think love is at midnight or 12 and hate's at 6. I think it's love is at 11:59 and 12:01 is hate.
Yes.
It's like very close because there's a lot of passion in both of them. So, you know, the concept of it, like love and hate, you know, it's just interesting how this world's like put together, like with us, and you know how we all. I think as the good goes, if people are showing love. Remember 9/11, all the people became like it was like a month of just awesome. People treat each other really well, and then it went. I remember the first day I got flipped off. After that, I was like, well. There goes all the niceness. We're back to the normal.
Yeah.
You know, dog eat dog world. But it's like, I think we're responsible, you know, for like stewarding like goodwill or being, you know, if you're going to be a bad will person, just go stay by yourself away from people because don't drag them down. But I think there's, like I was listening or reading a book the other day and they're talking about the crab theory, crabs in a bucket, right?
No.
So the way crabs treat each other is like, you know, crabs will they're all trying to climb up the bucket. They're trying to escape, right? When one crab gets up there, they'll grab it and pull it back down. It's bizarre. Like they don't want anybody to succeed. It's like this, like the crabs are, it blows my mind. It's like, you could have had the one. Nope, he ain't getting out. Hell no, he's coming back down. So yeah, I like some of those things like blow my mind when I start thinking about them. But I'm like, I'm not going to be one of those people. So that's why with the grind, with Joe, you know, Joe epitomizes the grind. He's somebody who, I mean, I've been in his house and I've helped him because I had to count out a bunch of different vitamins. And it's like we have to put a system in place where this goes in these baggies and this goes here so he knows exactly where everything is. Because it's just, I can't even imagine if I just shut my eyes and that's the rest of my life. You know, like going. And I went from being this seeing, you know, college football player, stud, you know, cop, good-looking dude, has the world by the butt, and then he gets hit and his life changes. You know, we're talking about that spin, like linear, and then goes in a different direction. It's like, but I think Joe, my take on Joe is like Joe's so inspirational that, you know, he'll talk, and there's been people that have come up to him and told him, like, you know what, I was literally going to kill myself until I heard you talk. Yeah. And I realize I have stuff to live for. Like, there's people that have it worse than I do. And I mean, Joe would tell you he has it worse than, you know, people have it worse than he does.
Yeah.
He doesn't say that kind of stuff. It's just like, you know, there's, and we've talked, and he's had some, you know, like I said in that podcast, you'll hear some stuff, but he had some really dark places.
Yeah.
You know, the guy didn't have a forehead for like 8 months. Yeah. His head had a dent like halfway down it, and he used to wear a baseball hat because they wanted him to wear like some soft, like, helmet over his head because, you know, this is all open other than the skin that was over it. And he was like, I'm not wearing this stupid. Put a baseball hat on. Because you had a weird looking head, I imagine. You know,
I imagine.
He doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's weird because, like, a couple times he's like, I've said stuff around him where I'm like, oh, that probably didn't sound right. I'm like, can you see what I'm saying? And then Joe's like, no, Dave, I'm blind. Like, he goes, you know what's crazy about being blind? He goes, people talk loud to you. He goes, listen, I can't see shit, but I can sure hear really well. You don't need to yell. Like, I was like, oh my God, because he's such a smart ass. But I think that people are going to be blown away by like what his story is. Like, it to me is mind bending. It's something I think a lot of people need to hear, and I think they should appreciate the sacrifices. He's just one of the people, but it's the sacrifices people make for us to be able to do stupid stuff like go on podcasts and talk about stuff and go on our cell phones and place, you know what I mean? Yeah. No, all this crazy stuff that we have is because other people lay down their lives so we can have it. And then I get kind of pissed off because I feel like people are just rolling over and giving up their freedoms. I go, you guys realize that once you give that up, you know, I'm sure there was a lot of slaves that were told, like, oh, you know, just come here and stay in the barn and we'll take care of you. And it's like, until you're just working full time. And get, you know, I mean, I just like the horrible, you know, way we are as a society is just like,
That's like what I was trying to do on my thing. Somebody asked me like, when I get it all the time, like, what's your content about? What's it about? And like, my easiest answer is like freedoms. Like we've lost our freedoms, and unfortunately, we're not free to think anymore. We have to just follow. We can't think. We can't do. We can only follow. We can't question, and that's what's wrong. We have freedoms in this life. We have freedom of speech. We have freedom to protect ourselves, to bear arms. We have freedom. I don't think they say freedom of education, but it's true. We have freedom of education, so we can learn what we want. We think how we want, and like we're free humans. And unfortunately, we've lost that, and we just have to subside to how others think we should.
Right.
we have to subside to control. Unfortunately, and that's what I don't believe in that. I believe in our freedoms that somebody like Joe has laid down for us. I mean, Joe sacrificed so much of our life, and like, oh, you're sitting here and it's so funny because you're like, oh, we have the freedoms to Tinder. All I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, is Joe single?
Oh, he is, but I mean, I think he has a girlfriend.
Okay, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, you're like, oh, he can't see. I was like, oh. Did you ever put Joe on a dating app and do you have to swipe for him? Like, you're like, here, Joe, this. Like,
well, we were talking about that with the, he's getting looked at. They want to do a documentary on his life. Last year when he got his pro card, we were backstage and we met a guy who's a producer, Dan Clark, who's one of the American Gladiators. So he was like, kind of like.
It's a Nitro.
Yeah, Nitro. He wanted to, well, you know what's crazy? So in a small world sense of weight, when Joe was on Detroit SWAT, his team name was Nitro.
Right.
So that he makes the Nitro. The guy who was on the show, right? So, I mean, I don't believe there's the coincidence.
Yeah.
I think that things happen.
Yeah.
At some ordained time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What you do with it is what you do with it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like this is gonna definitely change. It's like you have to be open to changing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A direction, or do stuff. So, anyways, Joe with that, I think the documentary would be pretty good for a lot of people, not just him. I think it's
not
starting
just
for Joe,
thing.
but I think it'd be like good for other people to see, and then they go, look what this guy can do without sight.
Yeah.
Why am I not doing much more with sight?
Yeah, it's crazy. And Joe lost that later. I mean, he wasn't born. He wasn't born blind. He lost that. He sacrificed it at that, and it's like
in his 40s.
Yeah. It'd be crazy. Like it. I laugh because like the COVID world that we're in, all this right now, and I know real things and stuff, but like COVID, I kept saying, I'm like, oh, when's hysteria blindness going to become a thing? Where because people have this, they have a mental disorder where they go blind, they believe they cannot see. Just like people, they'll touch things and they believe they can't touch it. It's not even a belief. It literally, their mind will make their hands go numb. Like you'll lose sensation. We lost taste. We lost smell. These are sensations that Joe, like that's a sensation that you get when you're born. Like you have your first sight when you open your eyes and see the nurse or see whatever you smell. Maybe you smelled poop. Maybe your mom pooped. Yeah. Or then you touch the nurse or you touch a finger and you hear all this stuff. And like we have all these things that we take them for granted. The only time we really get to use them is when we eat food. Like you get to put all your senses in, and like Joe, that was taken from him. Like and it's not just, it wasn't taken from him via the mind. It was taken from him. So he has to overcome what the mind is going to do by not having that. Like the mind's so powerful, but it can't give him his vision back. Is like the wildest thing. Like it's just gone. It's here one day and it's just gone. And it's for so many people that anything can happen. You be in a car and that's what's crazy. And you have to just deal with the world that it gives you. And he did, and he's grinding, and you guys are doing this together. Like it's really amazing to really sit there and think about, like, and what you could physically lose at any given point, and then have to overcome that or not. it's a choice to be here.
Well, I think some people like they don't have the ability to like visualize themselves as being a hero of their own story. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what you have to be in life. To me, to succeed in life, you have to be. It's a blank slate. Write what you want to write.
Yeah.
So how do you want that chapter outlined? That, you know, Dave Furman started off the chapter, he was hurting with this and this, and then he rose up from the ashes like a phoenix, and he became this huge hero in the story. And it's like, well, you have the ability to do that, but you have to convince yourself mentally that you can be that, and a lot of people can't. So the easier route is to point a finger at somebody else for holding you back from, because of either fear of failure or whatever else might be there. I think people are far, their bodies are far stronger than their minds. And I think as such, like, that's why people don't reach certain heights, because I think most people, I forget who it was it Emerson, Buffalo Emerson? One of them said that, like, the worst thing for a man isn't to set his bar too low. It's like not setting it high enough that, you know, you can achieve it easily. And he just said that when you set the bar so low, you achieve everything all the time.
Okay.
Because you're not challenging yourself.
Yeah.
But to truly make something that, you know, you set your bar high enough that you should set it high enough. There's nothing not noble about setting a high bar and failing as much as like setting a low bar and just succeed all the time.
Yeah.
Because you never risk. And if you want greater things, you got to risk. Risk and reward is a very real concept. And I think, you know, that's why we talked about it earlier, the rats. Most people are comfortable being the rat, going down the chute, get the pellet, that's your weekly paycheck. Mosey on back to the crib, take a nap, you know, and then the next day, get your pellet, go back to the crib. You know, same thing, repeat. And then you have the other rats that's like, how the hell do I get out of here? He's climbing over walls, trying to find like holes in floors and all that stuff, because they don't want to be like the rest of them. They want to be, you know, and I think to be exceptional in this world, you have to, not only you have to be exceptionally open-minded, but you also have to be exceptionally, like I've always told people, I said, extraordinary results are never born of ordinary efforts. So if you want to be extraordinary, you got to do extraordinary things. In preparing to be extraordinary, you won't be.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to be mediocre, do what the middle of the bell curve's doing.
You got to take your gifts too. Like you utilize your gifts. Like you have gifts. Like so that the kid who say he mentioned his God-given gifts. He wouldn't have went any farther than his God-given gifts if it wasn't for you, and you pushed him surpass that. So it's like you have to you set that bar. It's cool, but like you have to excel over it to really get anywhere.
I think sometimes in that process, like the greatest value you can give somebody, and you know, any kind of mentorship, you know, whether it be, you know, people mentoring people for success, or people mentoring people in psychological issues, you know, like psychology, or people mentoring people athletically, or again, I think that the greatest gift you can give somebody is the ability to expand their own mind and to the point where they can, you know, like I think there's a saying by Henry Ford. If you think you can or you can't, you're right. Yeah. If you think about it, it's such a good saying, but it's like you have to believe that you can achieve it. And I said, but that's where some people, like where I think I excelled with people, is that I could connect with them on a visceral level, and I could kind of plug that energy into them to change and think different. Like I remember older guys would talk about some of my young athletes. He goes, "Look, kid, come in here. His head's down. He's like all timid." And he goes, you know, 6 months later, they're bumping you out of the way on the way to the drinking fountain, all swollen up. And I would laugh, but I told people, I said, it's not the physical change that's going to make a difference in you. It's going to be the process is going to deliver mental change. And to me, mental change is far more lasting than physical change, because your body's going to disintegrate. We all do. I mean, from the day we're born, we're moving toward death. Like every day is a day closer to dying. So in reality, when you think about it, it's like it's some heavy, crazy, you know, it's like wild when you think about those journeys. And I think the greatest gift I've been, given is to be allowed to be kind of a mentor to the younger guys. And then on the other side of it, I think is like,
well, you created that. You weren't allowed to. You created that. Like without you being you would have never, like you created.
You know how that saying goes? I mean, it's like, it sounds like cliche, but I think it's like, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You know what I mean? I think it's an old like Chinese proverb, but it's like it's so true because like
you're here. Yeah. Well, I'm here. I came. Right. I came. Yeah. I was like,
right.
Get the text back or the call back.
But you know what I mean? It's like you just kind of like look at. I don't know. It's like it's crazy, but
yeah.
And you get these opportunities, but I think that in that sense, like what I'm saying is like to truly connect to somebody, their mind has to be open to the idea. And I mean, trust me, there's times when I had kids that I couldn't get through to them, and they pissed away a lot of talent. And I had other kids that, like literally like a Josh who left that thing, And I mean, there's people that have told me numerous times like how much I changed their life, and it was like it wasn't just the training, which was awesome. They always had a lot of fun and the camaraderie that it created, but it was like there's like something that happens to people when you push yourself really hard. Like some people, like they talk about martial arts now, I go, well, I'm just looking for the spiritual side of it. And I said, well, you know where the spiritual side of martial arts comes from is like training so freaking hard that you break like the ego and you break everything about yourself, because and that's where you find spirituality, is in that broken spot, because you shatter everything physically in a way, but I think you give yourself a spiritual death by the closer you can push yourself to like the abyss, like when you're training, and it's just like there's a spot that you have to like leave your mind to get to. And I was a good traveler like that. I could just like, I don't know where I was at, but I would project myself like out of that situation. I would just get in this zone. And I remember we were doing some crazy thing one time, and it was me, Mike, Todd, and Nat, my buddy. So I forget, like we were gonna do like 75 reps at the end of our whole leg workout on the leg press with like 5 plates aside. Not that heavy, but I think Mike did like 75 or 80 or something like that, and then Todd did like X amount, and then Nat did X amount. I remember the number Nat did was 187. Because I always think about murder, 187. So I'm like, okay. So I repped it out for like 215 because I wanted to beat 187. I go, beating it's not beating it. Like, you got to beat it. Like, I didn't want to eke it by one. So I just kept going, and I just kind of found myself in this weird spot mentally. And then I kind of like, it's almost like all of a sudden, poop, back in my body. And I'm like, how was this happening?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, that was crazy. I was like, yeah. I think there was an alien. Like, it was like Men in Black with the aliens.
Yeah.
It's like running the show. I'm like, yeah, it's crazy shit.
You had to get over that hurdle. You put that hurdle high.
Oh, it's like weird because like, you just make things to make it fun.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was training with my buddy Derek, and Derek was like talking trash to me on the leg press. We had like, I don't know, 1,500 pounds on it. And so Derek does like 10 reps, and he goes, see if you can beat that. And I just like looked at him, I started laughing, right? And I go, listen, this is the cocky younger Dave. I go, if I double your reps, I go, get out of my face. I go, if I triple your reps, I go, get out of my gym. If I quadruple them, I go, get off my planet. So I sat down, and it was funny because my football number was 41. I stopped at 41 reps. And I didn't say a word. I got off the machine and I pointed to the door. He's like, I said, go. Get the stepping, bro. You're out of here. Yeah, it was like, it was one of those legendary, you know, like there was some things we did back in it. And I just always wanted to know, like, yeah. I mean, I'm not one to miss lifts very often.
Yeah.
Like maybe a handful of times in my life. My buddy's like, it's just weird. You'll put some crazy ass number out there and then you'll go do it. And I'm like, well, if you give yourself no other option but to do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you have options, then you're never going to go as hard. It's just like, you know, life. If you have a safety net, you're never going to become as good as you can be, because to be, you know, the best you can be, you're on the razor's edge between crash and burn and amazing success. Like, you know what I mean? You're literally, I mean, look at guys that race cars.
Yeah.
Like, literally, they're within an inch of, like, catastrophe for hours straight, and they're just like, I don't know how your nerves can hold up like doing that, but it's like you have to drive within an inch of your life to be, you know, you don't get to be doing 55 in the middle. Yeah. You don't get to be in the middle of the pack or the back of the pack where it's safe. You got to be at the front, like, you know, and just any advantage in every little inch, you have to have the balls to take it. And a lot of people just don't. Like, they want to be in the comfort of that. Well, at least I won't crash.
Yeah.
I'll never win, but I won't crash. And it's like, oh my God, like, I don't understand that life. Like, I don't understand being that mundane where nothing, you know, like, I'm like, damn, like, just do you even not want to find out?
Yeah. What's
possible? Oh, I'll just sit here on Earth. Like, all you fools go up in the rocket and see if you can get to Mars or whatever. You know, it's like, there's going to be a big wait see on that thing, you know?
Yeah.
We'll see if they get there.
Yeah.
I ain't coming. You know, people are so skeptical, but then, you know, you got guys like Musk who have the capacity to just, like, somebody told me the other day, he's not that intelligent. He's like, you know, he just hires really good people. And I'm like, that's a sign of higher intelligence.
Yeah.
You moron.
Yeah.
I go, guess what? If you're really good at something and you want to partner in business with somebody, it doesn't make sense for you to partner with somebody that's just as good as you at the same thing and sucks at everything you suck at.
Yeah.
You better complement each other. That's how you get exponential, you know? Like, so it's just mind-boggling when I see people. I'm like, really? Interesting. Like, you're going to sit in the middle of the pack. You're going to be average for life. Yeah. That's good. And I'm like I've told my daughter, I go, I never want to hear you say that's good enough, ever. It's not good enough. There's always more. There's always more.
That's awesome.
You know, and you're just settling if you think that you can't go faster tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or go further tomorrow. I just told her, I'm like, because she'll tell me she in soccer, because she kicks prominently with her right foot, but she can kick pretty well with her left. Well, that's my bad foot. I'm like, excuse me? She's like, it's my bad foot. I go, you don't have a bad foot. I go, you have a really good foot and one that needs a little bit of work. It's a good kick, but it can be better.
Yeah.
And I go, the other one's extraordinary. And I go, but see, I think you program yourself with your own internal dialogue. So you have to be careful with what you say to yourself, not just other people saying, because everybody's going to shut you down. But I think your internal dialogue matters more than your external. What comes in, you have full control over the external.
Yeah.
You better damn well have full control over the internal, or you have some serious problems. But like,
yeah, to life.
You know, like, I'm a big fan of like Marcus Aurelius and like Stoicism, like as a school of like philosophy. It's like basically you have no control over external things, so why stress about them? Yeah. You just kind of have to, you know, it's like move with the motion of, like, you know, if you're in the water, you don't try to swim upstream. If you're, you know, it's fruitless, go downstream and see where you can get out of the water. But some people get it programmed in their head, they just got to go against the grain, you know, and it just never works out for some people. But being unconventional, I think, it's pretty cool, because, like, you know, Musk is clearly unconventional, and
I can't decide if he's a robot or not. Like, no, I know he's not a robot, but his Neuralink thing that he always talks about.
Yeah, it's a little freaky.
Yeah, I'm convinced he has it in him already, because he's saying he wants to put it in human as early as next year. Like, Elon definitely has a Neuralink. He's capturing every thought and idea he has, and then he's giving it to his team, and they're dissecting all of his thoughts and ideas,
and they're like, hey, yeah, this sounds like a good idea. I'm convinced he's had it in there for quite some time, and I'm like, ah, man. But it's interesting. Like, can you imagine if you had a categorization of all your thoughts that came through your day? Like, in essence, somebody would know exactly how to market towards you on basically everything your whole entire life. And then plus, like, do you want to know like how many times like a thought comes into your head and stuff? Like, it's crazy. It's cool, but it's scary at the same time.
There's some people I'd like to see it. I'm like, my buddy would probably be like, where'd the midget on the unicycle and the giraffe come from? Like, what's going on? Like, what is going on in between your ears, dude?
Yeah. I'm really excited for when you and Joe like get on. I think like because I want to know the future of the grind, like what you want to go for. But I'm gonna imagine you guys are gonna touch on kind of all.
Yeah, we'll talk about like where we went ahead. But I mean, it's a lot of it's gonna be like interviewing other people. There's a lot of stories I know in my own personal sphere that are, to me, are like what I would consider uplifting, because like, you know, nothing's ever that's remarkable is ever born of anything easy, right? It's always born of like hard. So hardship that was overcome to, you know, tell a remarkable story, Joe living through being shot. But other people have had these misfortunes, and it's like the interesting thing that I've seen in everybody is the attitude of like gratitude that people have from surviving something that was like really, I'm talking like, you know, some of these are life and death. Some of them are completely life altering, you know, and I don't know, like when you hear stories like that, to me, it's like, I'm fascinated with the capacity for human beings to endure things and to, you know, given the opportunity, can change things. And I think that's what the whole thing for me is with the grind. But then, you know, on the selfish side, I'd like to see Joe be able to, you know, use some of what we do to extend his speaking career engagements when he does stuff for the DEA, and some corporations are approaching him. So I'd like to get him where he has, you know, where he can get the best treatments. You know what I mean? Go to Germany or whatever, stem cells, or it might be this country. They might have advanced something, so maybe he can get some of his vision back. Because technically, his optic nerves weren't severed by the eye globes were exploded from the pressure of the round going behind his eyes. So it detached both his retinas, so he was, you know, rendered blind like instantly. Because the retina is like the movie screen.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have a screen to play the projector, the image is on, you can't see anything. So he can see a little bit of light, I think, out of his right eye.
Okay. Yeah, I think he said he gets shadows or something. Yeah,
shadows. But I mean, which is nice because then he's not completely in the dark. But it's pretty funny when you talk to him. We're talking about like sleep problems. Like he has like, you know, because of PTSD and things, he has like issues with sleep. So, you know, nobody likes like things like what's it? Lunesta and whatever those, is that what it's called?
Oh,
like the sleep meds.
Yeah.
What's the Ambien? Oh, yeah. I've heard nothing but nightmares about it.
If you can't fall asleep and you take, I was having sleep issues when I was training for the bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
And I took an Ambien and I thought my wife was a fish. She woke up and I was touching her lips like this. She's like, "What are you doing?" And when she was sleeping, she looked like a freaking fish. And that's how she woke up. She freaked out. She just moved in with me,
she's not moving out.
Yeah,
the marriage is over.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy because like so we never went. So he started taking like THC like gummies, like edibles, so he could like get sleep. And I sometimes will. It's like. He's like, yeah, it really helps with the sleep, but it sucks when you get up and your eyes balls in the middle of the night, and he goes, you're blind. You don't even know where the hell you're at, and he goes, and then you can't walk straight because your eyes balls. I'm just thinking there going, love to be a fly on the wall in that place that night. Well, think about it. I mean, like, there's jokes that, I mean, he tells jokes, but it's like, so they're talking about stuff, and I'm like, well, you probably don't have a very high light bill, right? There's some good to it, you know. What did he say the other week? We were talking to the lady, the producer, and they were asking all these questions about his story. And Joe said, that, you know, because he had PTSD, so he was in counseling for PTSD. He says it, slides it right into this story, and he goes, talking about me helping him backstage, and we're in them little skimpy trunks. And Joe's like, yeah. Well, in counseling, I was talking about how David touched me in my no-no. I go, what? The lady's like, what? Who touched you in your what? I was like, did you just say I touched your no-no? I was like, dude, really? I was like dying. I'm like, what a smart ass. Tosses me under the bus. I'm like, that lady probably thinks I'm a pervert now.
Yes.
So, no, that was hilarious though.
Yeah, so you bringing him next time? You bring another caretaker with you?
Yeah.
Do we need to sign you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was hilarious, man.
Yeah. No, this has been fun. I probably would.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll get you out of here.
Yeah.
Bedtime. No, I'm looking forward to that. Well, you want to say any goodbyes to them, or are we're all well, when can we expect to see this, like, realistically? So time frame wise, like even this, nothing exists. Like, this is a weird thing with time. So, like, today is what, the 31st of April.
Is it?
I think so. Or no, it's not. It's the 1st of May, isn't it?
May 2nd.
It's the May 2nd. Oh my God, time.
Really lost
Yeah, time. Time. What is it?
you.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So then this by the time somebody even is here. Hey, one thing would be really cool. Do you have like shirts and stuff, or you have a clothing line?
I do. Yeah.
We should make it where if anybody made it to this point, they get a free shirt, free grind shirt. Nobody ever comes. Like, nobody ever comes. I put stuff, Dave. I put how much fun me and you had right now.
Yeah.
Nobody will ever come and watch it.
No way.
No, it's so sad. It's so sad. I don't understand the internet. Nobody ever comes. Nobody.
That's wild.
I know. I put so much editing and so much different stuff into stuff. Nobody ever comes.
That's crazy.
I know. The internet is a.
Well,
I don't understand it.
Well, there's you gotta understand the algorithm.
Yeah, I don't.
They do some really weird shit.
Oh yeah.
I can guarantee you, I've been banned from some stuff because I was really loud about the COVID.
Yeah.
Where it started from, and I go, you guys are full of crap. That's not from the lab. I said, I'll argue till the cows come home. And I'm not a molecular biologist. But I understand molecular biology.
Yeah.
I don't have to be an expert in it to understand, and also genetics. And so I'm going, so where did this come from? We don't have a vector. There's not one animal reservoir out of 80,000 animals they tested in 2,000 species. Not one had COVID virus. I'm so we're supposed to expect that some Chinese person ate a bat that comes from a kilometer away, or 1,000 kilometers away, 1,200
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I never even thought about that.
And bats are, that time of year, bats are hibernating.
Yeah.
They're not flying around. So I don't know where the hell the bat came from.
Yeah, that's funny. I never even.
So when you put pragmatism, I read in statistics, there's a thing called the Bayesian analysis. Bayesian analysis is they did 26 data points and it started off with the premise that 98% that it was from nature and 2% that it came from the lab. When it was done, alpha 26 data points and 193 pages of me reading, it was 99.7% chance that it was made in the lab and 0.3%. This is done by a statistical analysis of just pure data, not my feelings about things. And I was well, that seals it for me.
Yeah.
I'm all about
the
science, right? Fauci, I'm following the science. You're not following the science.
Yeah.
You're following the political agenda.
Yeah.
That's what pisses me off is you said, people are comfortable giving up their rights. I mean,
no, we fought for this. Joe fought for them, but no, it's funny.
We'll stick this out.
Yeah, I was gonna take a algorithm class. They have a psychology of the internet, and unfortunately, they canceled it. So it went this semester, and I don't know what happened, but they canceled it, and they don't offer it anymore. I was super upset.
They're probably trying to stop people from understanding.
Yeah. Oh, I was mad.
You can find a way to.
I know. I'm gonna start trying to figure that out because I don't understand it.
Well, what I would do is we can take it off.
All right, we're leaving you.
All right. We're done. We're done. But yet, are we really done? We're not really done. We're not really done. Whoa. Whoa. The computer thinks I am. It's like, hey, we're just going to save it. But no. The journey is just beginning. Hit that subscribe. Hit that follow. And follow a guy on his journey to becoming the best he did ask me I could be. Oh man, you know what's cool? Maybe you learn something. Maybe what I learn, I share. Maybe there's actually somebody that watches it. Maybe we learn from Dave. Which Dave? I don't know. All right, I'm out of here, dude. And give some feedback on this. I feel as if I got nice teeth. Like I do. I mean, they're not as the screen makes them look. No, I don't know, Dave. Whatever. Ducky, I know. We're going right now. I'm taking this dog for a walk. Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. See you guys in the next video. Unless I see you outside in real life as well. Computer's crazy. There's in it and out of it. It's a big, wide place, this world. It offers so much. All right. See ya. You know, I almost forgot to say, like, one of the most important things. We talked about it in here. We talked about the grind mindset, all that through Dave Reid. But the big thing about this is I'm just one person. I'm my own journey, right? I truly am my own journey. I enjoy my journey. And if my journey could help anybody along that, that's awesome. But the grind mindset, what Dave started, it's a community, you know, right? Like, if you follow him, Dave Reid on Facebook, thegrindmindset.com, or just grind mindset. There's a lot of different stuff in here, and I really applaud you to go through and, you know, read about Dave for yourself. I know we talked a lot about him. There's a lot more to him, which is, it's an interesting world. So yeah, now I really am going to leave you. I'm going to leave you with some homework. Visit grindmindset.com and find your grind. But also follow me on here. No, but truly, I'm looking forward to hearing Dave's podcast with Joe and seeing Joe's story and hearing Joe's story as well. But until then, you guys have a beautiful day. Thanks for watching.